On a freezing November night in 2022, the quiet college town of Moscow, Idaho became the center of a nightmare that no one saw coming. 4 students, young, vibrant, and full of life, were brutally murdered inside an off-campus home just steps away from the University of Idaho. There were no signs of forced entry. No immediate suspect. And perhaps most chilling of all, 2 other roommates were inside the house and survived. The question that still lingers is simple, but terrifying. How could something like this happen? And how did no one hear it coming? This is the story of the Idaho Student Murders. It was November 13th when the bodies of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Oksana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were discovered in a rental home on King Road. The house was known as a social hub, a place filled with laughter, parties, and late-night gatherings. But that morning, it became a crime scene that would shock the entire nation. Police confirmed the victims were likely attacked while they slept. The weapon used was believed to be a large fixed-blade knife. There were no gunshots, no alarms, no clear signs of struggle that neighbors reported. Just silence. A kind of silence that feels impossible given the violence that occurred inside those walls. As investigators began piecing together the timeline, a chilling picture started to emerge. The victims had spent their evening in different places. Kaylee and Madison had been at a local bar. Oksana and Ethan attended a party. By around 2 a.m., everyone had returned home. Sometime between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., the killer entered the house. That window of time would become one of the most scrutinized aspects of the case. Surveillance footage, phone records, and digital clues were all analyzed in an attempt to reconstruct those final moments. But for weeks, there was no arrest. The fear in Moscow grew. Doors were locked tighter. Students left campus. Parents demanded answers. And still, the question remained. Who did this? Before we go deeper, if you're drawn to true crime stories that dive beneath the surface, make sure to subscribe to Shadow Files. We uncover the details others miss, and trust me, this case has layers you won't want to miss. As the investigation unfolded, police revealed a key detail that raised even more questions. There were 2 surviving roommates on the first floor. One of them later told investigators she had heard strange noises during the night. At one point, she opened her door and saw a figure dressed in black, wearing a mask, walking past her toward the exit. She described him as having bushy eyebrows. And then, he was gone. That single eyewitness account became one of the most critical clues in the case. It suggested the killer wasn't just a shadow. He was real, present, and had moved through the house with chilling confidence. Weeks turned into a month, and then finally, a breakthrough. In late December, authorities arrested Brian Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student studying at Washington State University, just miles away from the crime scene. The arrest came after an intense investigation involving DNA evidence, cell phone tracking, and surveillance footage of a white Hyundai Elantra seen near the home multiple times. Investigators traced Kohberger's movements through his phone records, placing him near the house on multiple occasions before the murders. Even more damning, DNA found on a knife sheath left at the scene was matched to him through genetic genealogy. Suddenly, the mystery had a face. But with that face came even more disturbing questions. Why would someone studying criminology allegedly commit such a brutal crime? Was this planned? Was he watching them? And most unsettling of all, was this his first time? The deeper investigators looked, the stranger things became. Kohberger had no known personal connection to the victims. No clear motive. No obvious reason to target that specific house. Yet, evidence suggested he had been in the area multiple times before the murders. Some believe he may have been studying the house, observing routines, learning patterns. Others think the crime may have been driven by something darker, something internal that had nothing to do with the victims themselves. And then there's the question of how he managed to leave so little behind. No immediate DNA match. No witnesses who could clearly identify him. It wasn't until advanced forensic techniques were used that the case finally moved forward. Which brings us to the clues that still haunt this case. The knife itself was never recovered. Despite extensive searches, the weapon believed to have been used in the murders has not been found. That missing piece continues to leave a gap in the investigation. Then there's the timeline. While phone data places Kohberger near the scene, there are still debates about the exact sequence of events inside the house. How long was he there? Did he target specific victims? Or was this random once he entered? And what about the surviving roommates? Why were they spared? Some theories suggest the killer didn't know they were there. Others believe he chose not to attack them. Either possibility is deeply unsettling. As more details came out, public speculation exploded. Online forums, social media threads, and amateur investigators all tried to piece together the puzzle. But with speculation came misinformation, and in some cases, harm to innocent people who were wrongly accused in the court of public opinion. That's the danger of a case like this. When answers are limited, theories fill the void. Speaking of theories, let's explore some of the most discussed possibilities. One theory suggests that this was a meticulously planned crime. Koberger, as a criminology student, may have been fascinated with criminal behavior and wanted to experience it firsthand. The idea that someone could study crime so deeply and then allegedly commit one is both ironic and deeply disturbing. Another theory is that the house itself was the target, not necessarily the individuals. Known for parties and a revolving door of guests, it may have presented an opportunity rather than a specific motive. Then there's the psychological angle. Some experts believe this could be the act of someone seeking control, power, or even notoriety. The brutality of the crime suggests something deeply personal, even if the victims were strangers. And finally, there's the possibility that we still don't have the full story. Trials reveal details that investigations keep hidden. Motives that aren't immediately clear can surface months or even years later. As the legal process continues, the world watches, waiting for answers that may or may not come. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the violence. It's the randomness. The idea that something like this could happen in a place that felt safe, among people who were simply living their lives. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, there is no clear warning. No obvious sign. Just a moment that changes everything. And maybe that's why this case has captured so much attention. Because it doesn't feel distant. It feels possible. Before we close, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this was a carefully planned act, or something more impulsive? And what do you make of the surviving roommate's account? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Shadow Files. There are more stories like this, each one darker than the last. Because sometimes, the truth isn't just stranger than fiction. It's far more terrifying.